Hi 8th grade, and welcome to another week of Reading to Kill a Mockingbird and another week of videos. So this week the videos are going to be a little bit different, and there is a message on Remind and also on Classroom kind of explaining this too, but I'll also tell you in the video so you know kind of how to watch them. So this video today, you can go ahead and watch all the way through. I'm going to start by giving you a rundown of all the characters that are going to be in the courtroom, because this week we're going to be reading the entire, well, I won't say the entire, but close to the entire trial of Tom Robinson to see if he's found guilty or innocent of the crime. So we'll start by going through the characters that are going to be in that court scene. And then after that, I noticed as I was grading your work from last week that you seem to have, some of you had a little bit of trouble on a few of the questions. So I'm actually just going to quickly kind of review all of those questions. I made comments on Classroom, but I figure, just to hear it again so that we're sure that we all are kind of on the same page before we keep reading. So that'll be the plan for today's video. The next video will be something that you should watch after you're done reading chapter 17, and the other videos for this week will be the same. So you'll read the chapter, and again, that can be either reading it on the text version or just listening, or both, whatever you normally do. I'm sure you're in a routine by now with it. And then after you're done reading, you'll come and watch the video, because I am going to be giving a lot of spoilers and things that you're going to want to read in the book before you hear them from me. Otherwise, it's going to ruin the whole story. Some of you I know want the story to be ruined and you just want to know what happens. But trust me, you should read it or listen to it because it's really good and really exciting. But I wanted to give a lot more information in these videos because these chapters are super important and there's a lot of information. So as we do this video and the other ones this week, you're also going to see me looking down at my notebook here. I have some notes because I just don't want to miss anything, and I want to make sure you guys have all the information to understand each chapter. And as you work on the work for this week, you can always come back to these videos too, and honestly just use them to help you answer the organizer. This week we have organizers rather than questions. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the characters. So the first character is Tom Robinson, and he is the defendant accused of raping Mayella Ewell. And Mayella Ewell is the victim in this case, who, of course, is accusing Tom of doing this to her. We'll talk more about her in another video this week. Atticus is the defense attorney representing Tom. So everything that Atticus is going to be doing in court, whoever he's questioning, is going to be trying to get it so that Tom is found innocent. And not necessarily, he's not trying to accuse Mayella of anything, but he ultimately wants Tom to be found innocent and not guilty of committing the crime of raping Mayella. The next character is Mr. Gilmer, who's the opposite of Atticus. He is called the prosecuting attorney, and he is representing Mayella Ewell. So all of his questions to any of the characters in the trial scene will be trying to get things so that Tom is found guilty. He's trying to ultimately defend the victim, Mayella, and find Tom guilty of the crime. The next character is Judge Taylor. He will have the final call on who is found guilty and innocent in this case. There's the jury, who is a group of citizens who decide also, along with the judge, who, if the defendant, so if Tom is guilty or innocent. So the judge, he makes the final call, but really it is a lot more resting on the jury to make that decision. Finally, the people who are watching the court scene are whites and blacks. And of course, in this time, they would have been separated. So you can picture the whites would have been on the main level of the courtroom, and the blacks would have been in the balcony, so on the upper level. And I actually today, as before I filmed this, I found a little picture of like how a courtroom is normally set up that I think is really good, and I put it on Classroom. So if you're a visual person and you like to see things like I do, head over to that. I think I called it courtroom layout. That way you can kind of picture, okay, here's where Atticus would be, here's where Mayella would be, here's where the judge would be, and so on. So those are all the characters. Now, let's talk about those questions from last week. And I'll tell you now, if you got really good grades on last week, or if you're like pretty satisfied with how you understood the chapters last week, you can go ahead and stop here. I'm not going to be giving out any new information. But if you did not get a good grade on the questions, or if you just kind of felt like you guessed your way through them and you just really weren't sure about those chapters, I want you to keep listening, because if you don't understand those last chapters, it's going to be hard to keep understanding the book. So we'll start talking about chapter 15 first, and I'm going to try to go as quick as I can because I know you guys are done with those chapters and ready to move on. The first question was the first group of men who came to visit Atticus. They came to visit Atticus to tell him that Tom is in jail in town. So they're kind of giving Atticus a warning of, hey, the guy that you're defending in court, he's in danger because he's in jail in town. The second group is the danger. So these are the men who come to Atticus when he's outside of the jail that Tom is in, and they want to kill Tom for the crime that he's accused of committing. The next question is the sheriff. Why wasn't he there with Atticus when that second group came? The sheriff was sent on what is called in the book a wild goose chase, and some of you guys might know what that means, but if you do not, a wild goose chase is basically like a false thing to chase after. So in other words, the sheriff got a false call. It would be like if you pulled the fire alarm at school. It would be like a false alarm. He got a false alarm by the men who came to visit Atticus so that he would not be there to stop them from killing Tom. So it was kind of a trick. That was all for chapter 15. Chapter 16, the questions. It was asking about why Scout cries. She basically cries because she realizes that the situation with this group of men, this mob, was really serious, and her life and Atticus's life and Jem's life, really everyone's life there, Tom's of course, were really in jeopardy. Another question was about Jem's maturity and how he shows it. He shows maturity by not making fun of Scout when she cries. Earlier in the book, when we were in that childhood phase of the book, Jem would have totally made fun of her, I think, but he's growing up and becoming more of a young man, and so he does not make fun of his little sister. He understands and kind of sympathizes with her a little bit more. The other question was, why is Scout confused about what people are saying about Atticus? So she's confused because people are basically saying, Atticus, all the white people hate you right now because you're defending Tom. We're not mad that you're defending him because we knew that you had to, but why don't you just say that you were forced to defend him, which is in fact, what is happening. And the reason for that, of course, is because Atticus is actually a good person and a good lawyer. And so even though he was appointed to defend Tom, he actually wants to do the right thing. And if Tom is guilty, Tom will be found guilty. But Atticus wants to fight, just like a good lawyer, if he's innocent, to protect him. And then the last question was, what neighbor ends up going to the court? And that was Miss Stephanie, because remember, Miss Stephanie's like the town gossip. So that is all for this little video about the characters and the review of those questions from last week. If you watched all the way through, I appreciate it, and hopefully you have a better understanding of the chapters from last week. And the next video for this week will be all about chapter 17. So please go ahead and read chapter 17. And then when you are finished reading it, you've listened to it or you've read it through text, I want you to come back to that next video and we will go through every detail of the first part of the trial. So I'm excited to start reading the trial with you guys. This is like I said last week, if you like Criminal Minds or Law and Order SVU or any of those kind of shows, any kind of crime show, even if you don't, we're going to get you into it. I'm excited to read those with you guys, so I will see you in the next video. Bye!